Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android, to recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel and all of the on SI sites, including the Heat site, where a lot of folks who are working for the Five Reasons Sports Network or Five on the Floor are also posting on the Heat site. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. That's $2.99 per month. Link is right there in the description. You'll bypass the Apple upcharge. This is where you go for the most Heat information and conversation. And by Monday, we're going to have a plan for all of you who used to be with us on Playback. Playback has gone dark. So we are going to be providing your in-game entertainment, whatever that means, on Discord. So make sure you subscribe. Link right there in the description. Also, check out Prize Picks. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Put down your 5. You get $50 in free lineups. NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. They've also got a new teams tab. You got to check that one out. We'll be talking more about that. But it is Daily Fantasy Simplified. It's the official fantasy partner of the Five Reasons Sports Network. If you see another code in there other than FIVE, put in FIVE. That helps us, and you get the best deal. You get $50 in free lineups. PrizePicks.com. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pit. Still 5 on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to mourn us. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us snoring. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at Five Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. We are through 25 games of the Miami Heat season. They have one of these ridiculous NBA Cup breaks. Of course, they're not going to be participating in the NBA Cup semifinals in Las Vegas because they're on a 4-game losing streak, and that included a loss to the Magic. Their third loss to the Magic this season. 5th if you include the preseason. But anyway, we don't even need to go there. So the Heat have lost 6 games in the Eastern Conference this year, and 3 of them are to Orlando. So that's just one of those interesting statistics to watch if they end up seeing each other in the postseason. And at this rate, you don't want them to because the Heat have not looked great against them. Their length has given them problems. And that's one of the reasons we've entered this on a bit of a down note after the Heat had a 6-game winning streak. And a lot of the conversation over the past couple of days has been, and we did a podcast on this, Greg and I and Alex, on the Tyler Hero effect and trying to get some nuance into that conversation because there doesn't seem to be a lot of it. But the Heat are 14-11. It's about where people thought they would be, maybe a little better than people thought they would be. I saw Bleacher Report. Greg gave them a B- for their season so far. It's fair. But you came up with a topic today. We're gonna do this a little differently. We tend to do grades at certain points of the season, but you've pulled from the Pat Riley handbook by somewhere back there. I've got Winter Within.
You knew I had to.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? And there are 3 different categorization. I can't say anything today.
Categorizations.
Thank you. Acronyms basically for how players are performing, if they're performing to the level that he wanted them to perform at. And so they are AOTT, which means you're an all of the time player, SOTT, which means you're a sum of the time player, and NOTT, which means this year you're Terry Rozier. You're a none of the time player. But he didn't mean it just by not playing. It was also you play, but you don't give impact. So all of a time player, according to this, did you pull this from AI?
Google.
This
is Google.
It's a Chat GPT or something. Okay. the elite players who consistently deliver at a high level every game, every practice. Now, we don't see the practices, so I can't speak to that. We're going to speak to what we've seen on the floor. Some of the time players who are good but inconsistent, showing flashes of brilliance but not always bringing that intensity or performance. And then the none of the time players who are not consistently contributing or are checked out, often a term used to push them or sideline them mentally, physically. It's going to be a little complicated.
It is.
To put players into categories. So let's try, though. We'll do our best. And this is different than just grading players A, B, C, D, or grading them against expectations, which is something we've done in the past. I'm going to give you a player, and I'll let you give your answer here. Norman Powell.
He's been an all of the time player so far. I think he's one of the few that we're going to get to. And this is all relative to, I think, like when we say all of the time player, that doesn't mean Norman Powell's on the same level as every all of the time player that's came through the doors and worn a Miami Heat jersey. Like, let's just get that out of the way. But on this Heat team, in these 25 games, he's been the closest thing to an all of the time player. Super consistent. You know what you're getting out of him night over night, except for when he's been maybe a little banged up here lately. But everyone's looked a little suspect lately. So for me, he's an all of the time player.
Yeah, I think he has to be. And it's also, he's been all of the time behind the scenes too. If you talk to people and if you just see the way he interacts with other players, he's been a breath of fresh air in that regard. He's lifted a dark cloud. I don't know how anybody could argue with anything else. It does not necessarily mean that he's a true get you over the top number one. I don't think he is. In a perfect world, we've said this about a lot of Heat players, he'd be an ideal number two. But they have what they have, and he has provided number one production at times, at least from a scoring standpoint. He's never been a high-volume rebounder, a high-volume assist guy. He's not an elite defender. I think he's played okay on defense this year, better than maybe advertised by Clippers fans after the way he performed there last year. Maybe not to the level. He's trying. Maybe not to the level that he did in Toronto. He's been okay. But I do think for the context of, again, what they got him for, what he's provided from an intensity standpoint, and he cares deeply about winning. And that will make you an all-of-the-time player in Pat's book, but also in the Heat's, and will also keep you on their salary books. And so that's what we have to watch going forward. Bam.
This is a tough one because, frankly, I expected better statistics from Bam through 25 games, if I'm just being honest. I thought he had a chance. I didn't know they were going to change the offense as drastically as they have. So some of the stuff that I thought Bam would be thriving on, they're not even running. So with that qualification in place, I still think Bam could be better. But in this exercise, I think behind the scenes, he's an all-the-time player, but he has been less of an all-the-time player than Norm's been. If we're just speaking about on the court, sheer production. I know Bam's still been good defensively. He's had his moments offensively, but he's also had some not so great moments. So for me, I know that like they'll say that he transcends the stat sheet. And I agree with that. I'm the guy who shouts it from the rooftops the most. But I'd say he's at the highest end of the sum of the time player tier through 25 games, or the lowest end of the all of the time player tier.
I just think yes, I think it is. And I think it depends on what our expectation level is for him at this point. And my expectation level for him came down before this year. And I think you know that. I was not projecting high numbers for him. I'm kind of out of that game. Like, I think there are certain parts of his game that he can refine, but I think for the most part, we've kind of seen it. I know you put out the no ceiling thing. I think there is a bit of a ceiling for him. I don't think we're ever going to see the 30 and 15 guy that maybe some Heat fans were hoping for. He's not Giannis. It does not mean he's not elite at certain things that he does. And defensively, it starts there. The statistics suggest that they are a very bad defensive team when he is not on the court. That speaks to his impact, and it's why I probably would give him a low-end all-of-the-time player for that. And also the leadership behind the scenes and all of that matters, and he's taken on that role. But I'm a little confused why he hasn't fit in the offense more when he and Spo were having these conversations about the offense in the offseason, and Spo has spoken to that. So obviously Bam was aware of what was going to happen. But it seems like there are certain parts of the game, but we talked about this in the old offense, where he's really engaged and they get him the ball, and there are other times of the game they don't get him the ball or he doesn't call for the ball. And I want to hear him call for the ball more often, but then also there are certain things I don't want to see him do with the ball. I like when he puts the ball on the deck and goes by guys. He tends to get fouls or other things. Sometimes he doesn't always finish. Sometimes his handle is too high. I know all of that, but he's never going to be a great post player. I'm past expecting that. The 3-point shooting has been fine on decent volume. He's never going to be elite there, but it's a different look for him. That's okay. But I think we're talking about margins with him at this point. Like I just don't. I don't know. I think again he's a number 2 on. Defensively, he's a number 1. Offensively, he's really a number 3. That's where he's at. So I'm going to put him at the bottom of all of the time tier. But this breakout that I think some were hoping for, I don't think we're seeing it. I think this is a very, very, very good player who the Heat are lucky to have, who is the backbone in the locker room now and is the backbone of their defense. But this is why we keep talking about guys like Giannis. He's not Giannis. And I don't know that anybody thought he was going to be Giannis, but I think there were some who were hoping, okay, there was going to be, again, maybe a 24-12 season. I don't think that's ever happening. I just don't. And I don't think they're catering to. I think if they saw that was a possibility, they would cater to him more in terms of play style. They don't. And so I think it's a little bit of both. People are like, well, they don't get him the ball in those ways. Well, look, they're smart enough to see if there's a guy who can take on that kind of usage and is going to be dominant in those areas, they would grow it. They haven't. Okay.
Well, and also with all his responsibilities defensively, they may just say, listen, if we were to give all that to Bam, our defense would crumble. So they have to like pick a side essentially.
Yeah. And look, this is not a great criticism of a guy who was the number 14 overall pick in the draft. I mean, he has way exceeded the expectation level, and he's a top 5 player from that draft. So again, this is a nuanced conversation we try to have. It's not easy. Andrew Wiggins.
Ooh. I mean, we've kind of known what we're going to get from him all the time, basically. He's been like that in terms of consistency. I feel like he's been one of the more consistent players. But I guess I would say some of the early season stuff that Zach Lowe was floating around about this being his best season, I don't see that. So in terms of day-to-day impact, I'm going to have him in the sum of the time tier.
I do too. There isn't consistency within games. We've talked about that a lot. There's patches of the game where you're like, whoa, like Andrew just went on a 7-0 run by himself. You know, he just gets in rhythm. And especially on the defensive end, I do think he's been better defensively. A lot of the defensive metrics are excellent. And ISOs, he's number 1 in the league. Okay. And ISOs on defense. And again, these stats change and everybody uses different metrics. It's tough to really, but I think they came from Stat Defender. So that suggests to me he's doing some pretty good things. And the eye test suggests that also. That's all positive. I think it's a matter of expectation level, and the expectation level with Miami is not the same as it was in Minnesota, right? Going way back. He was supposed to be an all of the time superstar. He's not that. He doesn't have the makeup for that. They shouldn't try to make him into that. His best role is what he had in Golden State. Feels like that's what they try to create here. Brady and others didn't think the offense fit him particularly well, but I think he's done a relatively good job fitting in.
That's true.
And he plays hard. And he has been more engaged behind the scenes from everything that I've heard this year. Seems to like it better than he liked it last year, or at least everything he was dealing with coming over from a place he was comfortable and obviously having a new family and all that. So he's been good. I can't make him an all the time guy because I don't go into a game saying they're going to necessarily get good Wiggins tonight. There's been a couple of games where they got bad Wiggins and it cost them the game. Late in games, some decision making, that kind of stuff. I don't like to see him dribble. There's still enough holes there. So I would say he's towards the top end of some of the time guys. I think he's been a pleasant surprise in some ways. I think he's very valuable on a very good team. I don't know necessarily that he's a part of this thing beyond this year.
I could see that. especially if Jaime figures out what the hell's going on, which I
Well,
think
let's
we're
do
probably
that.
getting to him next. Yeah.
Let's do that. This is a different conversation a week or 2 weeks ago than it is now.
You're damn right.
And
He
I
was
don't
an
know
all
what
of
to
the
do.
time guy before this losing streak almost.
Well, and a couple of
Really,
things have
since Tyler came back, let's just say it.
Okay, well, but there's two things though. He also came back from an injury, and this is the other thing about separating the Tyler thing. He did come back from an injury. What we did say that Jaime would probably be more affected by Hero's return than anybody else. It does appear that that's the case. But again, people say I say this. I saw people quoting me on this on Twitter today. Correlation is not causation, whichever way I bungle it. It's hard to really say that Tyler's return has directly impacted him because I don't know if he's as healthy as he was before. And we know that last year health was an issue for Jaquez in terms of his play falling off. I am starting to see certain things that he did effectively early in the season that teams are starting to take away again. And that happened last year. And now there needs to be another act to that. He's not getting downhill as often. He's not finishing as well when he does. He's had some bad rolls around the basket. I can't make him an all the time guy, even though his effort is there, again, because lately he's not played at the level he did before. I think he's towards the top end of the sum of the time guys again, but there's another place he's got to get to where variables don't affect him the way that they sometimes have this season. Like he's going to be 6th man of the year, and I think that ship may have sailed. Actually, he's going to need a really good run next 25.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
say. But if he's going to be that, like we need to see what he was doing in the first, 15, not the last 10, right?
We were saying, could he win? I mean, I was asking on post-game shows, could he win 6th man of the year and most improved player in the same season?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the kind of stuff we were saying after some of the games and performances early. So it's a shame because had we done this at the 15 game mark, he would have been an all of the time guy. And we would have said, wow, look what's changed. It's what you expected from Nico. But no, some of the time is what it's been. And it's a situation where he really has an opportunity here. And it's why I think Wiggins also, the contract just fits in too many trade machinations. But I think Jaquez is, they got to know what they have with him. So I think that that's going to be a big part of the rest of the season. And so, yeah, some of the time, but he was so damn close to getting in all of the time had this been 10 days ago.
But the other thing for him is if he's going to be an all-the-time guy, then the part of his game that we talked about them de-emphasizing when they needed to de-emphasize, he's got to improve it behind the scenes so that it becomes a factor, and that's the outside shooting.
Yeah,
that's how he becomes an all-the-time guy. That's the next progression here, because if teams are going to, they took away the spins, they can take away the downhill stuff as much as they can. His footwork is still excellent. Again, it just doesn't seem quite right lately, but they start taking that stuff away, then yeah, he's going to need to be able to step out and make a three. And that's the part of his game I don't like to see him take it. And you have to get to the point where you feel more comfortable with that. All right, one more before break here, and I think this is an easy one. Davion Mitchell, to me, is an all-the-time guy. Right?
Hell yeah. I'm glad that you went there before the break because we don't even need to spend a ton of time here.
No.
He and Norm, but in certain ways, people are going to say I'm nuts about this.
I agree with
Davion has been the most all of the time player on this roster since game one.
Yep.
And Norm obviously is leading them in ways that Davion can't. And it's in ways that if they don't get 25 a game from Norm, obviously the season is going south. But let's not discount what Davion Mitchell has done in these 25 games, from the assist to turnover stuff, just the decision making, the shot making. I think all of that's been, at least if you say nothing else, he's not a crazy, robust 30-point per game guy. He's never going to be, but he's way better than we expected him to be. And you know what you're getting game over game.
Start his role. That's what he is. And the role, whether he ends up coming off the bench, I still think the lean is going to be for him to start. But the first step, the defense where he doesn't allow himself to get screened, the shooting has been good enough. He hasn't regressed all the way back. He's regressed like halfway back. Fine with that. We said that before the year. The finishing has been really good. Not as good lately, but it's been really good. His ability to get into the paint at $12 million a year. I mean, he's the guy you hold up and you're like, okay, this is what we want. Some may have more talent. Okay, well, he was a first round pick. Some may have more talent, but this is the model of how you want to do this thing. Okay, they get all the guys doing that, and it's just about winning with him. There's no question that he's an all the time guy. All right, here's what you need to do to be an all of the time family member or anything else. You got to go to Cozy Earth. Okay, so I'm not going to say this too loud because my daughter's here tonight, but the bamboo shoots, the cuddle blanket, you can find all of it there. CozyEarth.com, CozyEarth.com. Get the gift. That first thing you're not going to want to give back. Okay, but it's a risk-free purchase. 100-night sleep trial. Try it out. If you don't love everything that's offered there, this is all bedding products and things related to that. Return hassle-free. 10-year warranty, because once you feel this level of comfort, you want it to last a decade. So check it out. It's luxury comfort that makes the home the best place to be. Give the gift of everyday luxury this holiday season. Head to CozyEarth.com. We're telling you to do this in the next 48 hours because you can use the code on the floor there. That's on the floor for up to 40% off. But be sure to place your order by the 12th. So what is that? Are we at the 12th tomorrow? Oh, you better get on this. Okay. Right? Am I screwing this up? Yeah, the 12th
No,
is tomorrow.
you're right.
Okay, so 12th is Friday for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Okay, if you're listening after the 12th, why would you be listening to this episode after the 12th? But if you are, the code still works for 20% off. So the code again is on the floor. And also, when you do the post-purchase survey, make sure you mention that you heard about Cozy Earth on 5 on the floor. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into a cozy new year. Again, that's the code on the floor at CozyEarth.com. Okay, so let's go through a couple of others. I will do these a little quicker. Simone Fontecchio.
Some of the time.
But it's trending towards lower some of the time, isn't it?
Big time.
Yeah. And that's problematic only because they do need one more shooter. And he was more impactful early in the season than expected. And now he looks like a guy that they're going to include in the trade.
He was leading them in 3-point field goals made.
He was leading the league in 3-point field goal percentage. Okay. That has come down, and I can't really figure out why, because his shots look like they're coming from the same place. He's just not making them. I know there's been a little in and out of the rotation, but he did shoot 31% from 3 last year. So what was happening earlier this year, even though he has a reputation as a shooter, there's not really the excuse of being hurt. Like last year it was roll Detroit and all that and being hurt. Well, not now. Like they gave him an opportunity. There have been a lot of guys over the years with the Heat that we looked at as like kind of fringe players, and they get off to hot starts and then they fade. Gerald Green comes to mind. There's been a lot. Eddie House. Right? There's a lot. And then they're not in the rotation anymore about 40 games into the season. He needs to get it going quick because otherwise he's going to end up in that none of the time playing time. Speaking of which, this is the hardest one for me to do because I'm going to read you the definition of this again. And I don't think that this is the issue. None of the time players are not consistently contributing or are checked out, often a term used to push them or sideline them mentally, physically. I don't think Nikola Jovic has checked out. No, I don't think he got the money and said, I'm not going to try to play well anymore, but he's not consistently contributing. He's not even playing. And even though Spoelstra denied this, it does seem to be a confidence crisis more than anything, and they just paid the man $62 million, or they're paying him for 4 years, and I really think he's got a chance to be a good player, but we don't see it right now, and I don't know that we're going to see it this season. So what do you do with this? He's none of the time, right? Just because this is the biggest disappointment on the team.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. It's just through 25 games, and that can change because we've seen Jaquez go from superstar to whatever we're seeing lately. You've seen guys go through these peaks and valleys. So Nico has a chance to figure this out, but through 25 games, he has been a none of the time guy. Spoelstra can say whatever he wants about the confidence stuff, and he's probably right to a degree that professional athletes just generally have a streak of confidence that us civilians don't understand that he does possess. So who the hell are we to talk about his confidence as a professional athlete? But he's impacted by his confidence right now. So that's just, the reality of it. And yeah, correct. So it's just a situation where he hasn't contributed enough. So for now, I hate to say it, but he's a none of the time guy. And I actually have someone else who I'm going to put in that category who's going to, it's going to get people really riled
Go
up.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think we can put Tyler in the sum of the time category right now.
Well, he hasn't played enough.
Correct. I think he's been great in 6 games statistically, but if you look at how bad things have gone lately, combined with that he's only played exactly a quarter of the games, I guess he's technically been available some of the time, but like we've been talking about where they rank within the tier, he's at the back of the tier for me. And I know it's 6 games and he's Tyler Hero. He is an all-star, but I didn't expect to say that, I guess, when we knew he was going to be out. So I guess the first 25 games, we didn't know what to expect to see from him, but it's a weird spot to even be putting him in either of these places.
I mean, I'm going to go some of the time only because he has shot, as we talked about, he has shot 50, 40, 90 since he's come back. And they are, I mean, I think they're 3-3. Is that right? When he's played? It's funny because there was this battle and Powell didn't play in 2 of them, right?
Right.
There's been this battle, which is interesting on social media between Windhorst and Lebitard, who both kind of called Hero out this week, who obviously both have national profiles, but ties to the Heat in various ways. Brian covered them for 4 years when LeBron was here. And the beat guys who kind of rallied to Tyler's defense on Twitter today, which is not something Ira usually does, or Anthony for that matter. Actually, they both did it today, pointing out that because I think Ira said, I understand the need for clicks and all that. Ira doesn't usually engage in that way on Twitter. He doesn't unleash the hounds on himself in that way. No. And he did with that tweet. And Anthony typically doesn't do a whole bunch of opinion stuff or to that degree on Twitter. So I thought it was interesting that, the 2 leading beat guys on the team, along with, Tim Reynolds, the guys who were there the most. Anthony and Ira are the only 2 who travel consistently. Tim's a national NBA writer and he does a lot of other things locally. And Barry, of course, doesn't really travel much anymore. And he's around the Heat some and he covers them. But it's really Anthony and Ira that are with them in the trenches on a daily basis, as I used to be. I'm not anymore either. So the fact that both of them went out there in Tyler's defense struck me a little bit. And I do think that speaks to this being a nuanced conversation that some don't want to have. I can't put him at none of the time when he came back off missing 17 games and he has shot the ball as well as he shot it. It's just the results that are not happening here.
I'm being dramatic. I recognize
it's fine. Well, I thought you were going to say someone else, and let's go to this next one. Well, before we go to this next one, what do we do with Drew Smith? By the way. Effort is all the time, right? Like
effort is all the time, but he's got to be in this. You can't put him in the all of the time.
Well, no, you can't. No, he's not impacting as consistently as Davion because he doesn't have some of the same skill set that Davion has. But I'm tempted to put him all the time because I cannot believe that man has come back. I can't believe that man has come back from what he's come back from, those 2 injuries, and still, he's like a steals leader per 36 minutes in the entire NBA, and some of them are just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so I give him great credit for that, but I also understand Heat fans who are like, you got this guy in the G League who like looks dynamic, and we want to see him. And so I get it, but I just, as a person, Drew Smith is an all of the time guy. As a player,
Taz ain't ready. I've heard that some in that building are campaigning for him to get run, and there's others that think that they can't afford those turnovers at this current moment.
Well, they decided that with Jovic, so you can't. Right, that's the other thing. So before I get to who am I missing? Who's played consistent minutes? Keshad hasn't played enough to really go there. Larson.
I think
Larson.
Larson's been a some of the time guy.
Effort is all the time. He's kind of like Drew. He's kind of like Drew with a little higher upside, right? Yeah. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're both B. Like if we were doing regular grades, they both would get solid Bs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I put Larson ahead of Smith because they've had success with Larson starting, which I think
Yeah.
counts for something, and he's been a really good connector in those situations, and they will miss him over the next week and a half. I mean, he's a good player. I really
Keep in
like him as
mind
a player.
Larson starting, them being good. Like, keep that in mind for the future. Just
I
don't
know.
forget about that.
No, I don't think they're forgetting about that. They put a lot into. If I were a team, put this in the atmosphere. If I were a team making a trade with the Heat and I'm looking for a low end salary to throw in there, that's a player I would target if I think I'm going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a team that's in full rebuild mode, I don't know
Not gonna
necessarily, but because I don't know how much you want to put on his plate in that way. But if I think I'm going to be good, or I think I can move him to a team that's going to be good, that's a player that good teams will value. He does those kind of things. Okay, and that's this is a team that thinks they're going to be good. I would try to keep him. To
Mm-hmm.
me, if you got Giannis, Larson's a guy who will fit in your 8-man rotation somewhere, and he'll be playing with
Hell yeah.
Giannis down the stretch of some. Like I
Drew
like him a
Smith
lot as a
too.
player. Yes, I know, but I just Larson there's a little more there with Larson. I think. Well, Larson's also he's a little younger than Drew, and for all those reasons. All right, let's do the Ware thing here. I mean, does it depend on the night?
It does,
mean,
but he is the classic some of the time guy because when he looks good, he looks effing good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm censoring myself,
but
boy, on the nights that shit ain't going right, it's rough. Yeah. So it's the classic definition of a some of the time player, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if you pointed it out, you would say that. In other words, if he would represent that. The Heat have had some of those guys too for different reasons. Jamal Mashburn was a some of the time guy, even for all of his talent, right? Eddie Jones kind of was a some of the time guy, but mostly was about the lights being too bright or his role changing. If the game didn't matter, Eddie was getting you 32.
Mm-hmm. Antoine, some of the time guy.
Antoine, some of the time they've had these guys over the years. Ware's different because he's a center. The upside is really tantalizing there, but there is no in between, man. Like there have been some games that have been tremendous, and then there's other games where, as angry as Spo is, you're like, he's not angry enough. And it's all the little stuff. And I know he wants him to keep stacking days. And it's funny when he goes into different cities, he'll get asked about certain guys, and he has to keep repeating everything about the offense and keep repeating about where he's so tired of talking about both. And I just think Khalil can make his job so much easier if he just engages, because it's in there. Like it is absolutely in there. Like there is a fire in there. This is not DeAndre Ayton. There is something like when you get Ware to recognize, okay, we need more from you, and he's hearing it from the right people. And he does remarkable things. So I understand why he's not someone they would want to give up on. And I also understand why a team like Milwaukee might look at him and say, okay, he's a potential build-around piece, but I also don't think Ware would reach his potential anywhere but here. I just think he's the type of guy that if anybody can reach him, right, it's going to be them.
That's scary for the trade proposition. That's another episode, so we're going to save that. But
we'll save that one.
That culture element related to cultivating a player like Ware, who has such a skill set. Like there are Heat fans, Ethan, that say, and I've read it on many social media platforms, that say trade Bam immediately because Ware can get as many points and rebounds as Bam in half the minutes.
Those are
I know that they don't understand the game, untrained eyes, all that. But it's because when you see the flashes, you're like, is this Hakeem Olajuwon? And I'm just using that name. Like it's that impressive. And that's what I just think. Then when you see him, play 12 minutes and just kind of be sparingly impactful, it's just difficult to calibrate who the hell you have here.
The thing with Bam is that we never question like Bam's effort. We'll sometimes question his aggressiveness and all that, especially offensively. I mean, not defensively. With Ware, it's the other stuff. It's like, is Ware more talented than Bam? Probably. I mean, if you're just talking about pure athletic talent, I mean, Bam can jump through the gym too. Okay. I mean, obviously, maybe not when he got in the league. I mean, Riley compared him to Sean Kemp when he first came in the league. Okay. So, I mean, there's a level of athleticism that Bam has to do what he does defensively is remarkable. But then you see the stuff Ware does. And when he goes on one of these runs, like when he's playing against Wemby, I get it. Like, I absolutely understand it. But do I ever think that he'll be as consistent and reliable as Bam? No, I don't. And I don't think it has any chance of happening if it's not here. And that is the judgment that these other teams are going to have to make, because where is the prize for them? It's not Tyler, and it's no offense to Tyler, but Tyler plays a certain position that has been devalued in the NBA to a certain degree. There are scorers everywhere. One-dimensional scorers we saw they got moved around the league this past offseason.
And he's up for an extension.
And he's up for an extension. Where's not up for that yet, right? You're not going to have to pay Khalil what you had to pay Tyler. So Tyler's like a nice piece, right, to add to a team that's looking for a scorer, particularly if you happen to reside in his hometown or home, where he's from, right? So I get the appeal about Tyler for certain teams. But where is the guy that you're like, okay, if we can tap into this, like we've got a guy who could be a top 20 player in the NBA, but so few organizations are going to be capable of tapping into it. Yeah. And a lot of them are going to say, if the Heat are struggling to tap into it, then how are we? Like in San Antonio, they would tap into it, right? Like that's an organization that knows how to develop.
Because the owner and the general manager, are they really going to sit in their front office, Ethan, and say, Eric Spoelstra, the second highest paid coach in the game, who should be the highest paid coach in the game, the guy who coaches the Team USA in the upcoming Olympics, he's not playing him consistently, but the guy we've got down there on the sidelines, he'll figure it out. Like how many organizations
Doc is going to get it out of him? Well, that's the point. Like Doc Rivers is going to get that out of him. I don't. Look at the way Miles Turner's playing in Milwaukee right now, and he's been garbage. They signed him for all that money. I just think there are very few like Boston, like that organization. They seem to know what the heck they're doing now. Like this, it's beyond Tatum and Brown at this stage, right? Indy when they have the right guys. Yes, there are certain organizations because they're Carlisle and Pritchard. There's a structure. It has to be an organization with a structure that knows what they're doing. And there's just a lot of teams around the NBA that's just not the case. I mean, it's half the league, honestly, that I would not trust with him. And that's the tough thing here. But the talent is there. So some of the time, yes, but it's never just some of the time. That's the thing within a game. It's either all the damn time, oh my God, or it's
0 to 100 real quick.
That's it. That's how we all should live life. 0 or 100, nothing in between. All right, Greg, appreciate it. Thank you. We did a long episode here. I don't know. We're all some of the time guys here on 5 on the Floor. That's it. You never see the four of us together. Have a good one.